mechanisms and strategies for effective and proactive parliamentary leadership in Africa's development. As was the case in the morning, I have the distinct honor and the privilege to introduce and thereafter invite the chairperson for this session, Honorable Cecilia Daniel Pareso, MP from Tanzania, United Republic of Tanzania. Honorable Pareso is a seasoned legislator, lawyer, governance expert, and an accomplished parliamentary leader from the United Republic of Tanzania. She currently serves as a presiding officer of the 13th Parliament of Tanzania, where, among other things, she plays a pivotal role in guiding parliamentary proceedings and thereby strengthening democratic governance through effective legislative oversight and representation. With over 15 years of distinguished service in public leadership and parliamentary affairs, Honorable Pareso has built an impressive record in policy formulation, legislative oversight, public accountability, gender equality, youth empowerment, and institutional governance. Since becoming a Member of Parliament in 2012, she served in several strategic parliamentary committees and leadership positions, thus contributing significantly to national development and democratic consolidation. Her influence extends beyond national borders. She has represented Tanzania in regional and international parliamentary platforms, including the Southern African Development Community Parliamentary Forum, SADC-PF, the African Parliamentarians Network Against Corruption, APNAG, and other global parliamentary engagements. Through these platforms, she has consistently championed transparency, inclusive governance, sustainable development, and stronger parliamentary institutions across Africa. Honorable Pareso is widely recognized for her commitment to advancing the participation of women and the youth in governance, promoting accountability in public institutions, and advocating for policies that improve the welfare of communities. Today, she will be chairing, as I said earlier, our session on reforming and developing innovative mechanisms and strategies for effective and proactive parliamentary leadership in Africa's development. This topic, as you are all aware, strongly resonates with her extensive experience and unwavering dedication to strengthening parliamentary institutions as drivers of sustainable development, democratic resilience, and political stability across the continent. It is therefore with the greatest of honor I invite Honorable Cecilia Daniel Pareso to come to the stage and in turn invite the mover and the seconder for the topic at hand. Honorable Pareso, you are most welcome.
Honorable speakers, presiding officers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is my profound honor and privilege to welcome you to this second plenary for today's session on reforming and developing innovative mechanisms and strategies for effective and proactive parliamentary leadership in Africa's development. This theme is not only timely, but also compelling. Across our continent, parliamentary are increasingly called upon to be more than legislative institutions. They must become proactive engines of stability, innovation, accountability, and inclusive development. Today's discussion is about leadership that anticipates challenges, embark innovation, and build resilience. It is about parliaments that do not merely react to change, but actively shape the future. I invite us to share experience, debate strategies, and propose innovative mechanisms that will strengthen our institution. Let us ensure that our deliberation today produce practical recommendations that can be taken back to our respective parliaments in furtherance of Africa's collective development and prosperity. I now declare this session open and looking forward to constructive, enriching exchange of ideas. Honorable members, distinguished colleagues, as earlier communicated, the motion was originally scheduled to be moved by Right Honorable Sengopa Solomon Thomas, Speaker of the Parliament of Sierra Leone. However, I was informed by the Secretariat that the Speaker of Sierra Leone has conveyed his sincere apologies for being unable to attend this conference and to presiding official duties at home. Therefore, our mover today will be Hona Mary Muyali Mekoba from Cameroon. So before inviting Hona Mary, let me first introduce Honorable Mary Muyabi Boya Mebeko, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Cameroon and the CPA International Executive Committee member. Honorable Mary Muya Boya Meboka, as said earlier, is the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of Cameroon and a member of Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and International Executive Committee, where she serves as the CPA African Regional Representative. She has represented the Ndian constituents in the National Assembly since 2007 and currently heads Cameroon delegation to the CPA. Prior to her parliamentary career, she held various positions in environmental management, conservation and rural development, including serving as divisional delegate for environment and nature protection and acting conservator development coordinator of the Korup project. Hona Muyali holds a Master of Science degree in development training and education from the University of Wolverhampton in the UK. Also, he undertakes extensive professional training in organization development and capacity building. She is widely recognized for her commitment and democratic governance, community development, and parliamentary diplomacy. She is also the national president of the Ngolo Culture and Development Association and has received several traditional honors in recognizing her distinguished services. Distinguished colleagues, kindly join me in welcoming Hona Mary Muyali Meboki, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of Cameroon, to high table. Distinguished colleagues, we also have the seconder of today's second discussion, the Right Honorable Tlohangi Sekame, Speaker of the National Assembly of Lesotho, was born on 30 May 1955 in the Makongi district. He is married with 2 children. The Right Honorable Speaker holds a Master of Philosophy in Economics and the Politics of Development from Cambridge University in 1989. He obtained his postgraduate diploma in Development Studies from Cambridge University in 1988. In 1982, he obtained his Bachelor of Arts with Education from the National University of Lesotho. Honorable Sekame has worked extensively in the field of education, from being headmaster of Mapolonange High School as a senior curriculum officer at the National Curriculum Center in the Ministry of Education from January 1986 to June 1986. While in June 1986 to September 1992, he was the Assistant Private Secretary to his Magistrate, Mosho Eshoe II, at the Royal Palace. He then became a lecturer in Development Studies at the National University of Lesotho from October 1990 to September 1991. In September 1991 to December 1993, Honorable Sekahame became the director at the National Teachers Training College in Lesotho. In January 1994 to May 1995, Honorable Sekame reverted to being a lecturer and head of department in the Department of Development Studies at the National University of Lesotho. He was a member of Senate and a member of Council. In the period June 1995 to June 1996, he was the education officer at UNICEF. He went on to become the country director at the Institute of Development Management in Lesotho in January 1998 to March 2000. Honorable Sekame has vast experience in governance and parliamentary affairs. He was the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education from April 2000 to July 2001. He then became Government Secretary, means Secretary to Cabinet and Head of the Public Service from August 2001 to March 2012. He became a Member of Parliament from June 2011 to March 2015. He joined Cabinet as the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Relations in March 2015 to November 2016. He moved on to become Minister of Finance from November 2016 to June 2017. Honorable Sekahame is currently the Speaker of the National Assembly from October 2022 to date. I now have the honor to invite Right Honorable Sekahame, Speaker of the National Assembly. Honorable colleagues, I now welcome Honorable Muyali to move the motion. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Like it was mentioned, the Right Honorable Speaker, Sekepo Solomon Thomas, prepared a paper and sent, but he was unable to attend. So I'm presenting the paper on behalf of the Right Honorable Speaker of Sierra Leone. Honorable Chairperson, colleagues, speakers, and presiding officers of the Commonwealth, officials, observers, and guests, I bring you greetings from Sierra Leone. It was always a privilege to engage and discuss strategies to reform and develop innovative mechanisms for effective and proactive parliamentary leadership in Africa's development. Let me thank the host speaker, honorable members, and the people of South Africa for the warm hospitality extended to us. Madam Chairperson, we gather in a spirit of advancing reformation and democracy, good governance, unity in diversity, and one Africa under the Commonwealth. Contemporary parliamentary leadership must transcend the traditional functions of parliament, which is lawmaking, oversight, and representation. It should evolve into a proactive, innovative, and development-oriented institution capable of addressing the complex governance challenges confronting African states. To achieve this, African parliaments should embrace a holistic transformation agenda that integrates institutional modernization, effective and evidence-based oversight, utilization of Auditor General's report, technological innovation, ethical leadership, and institutional integrity, citizens' participation, and developmental accountability. Why reform is necessary? Colleague Speaker, Despite constitutional guarantees and democratic progress across many African states, numerous parliaments continue to experience structural and institutional weaknesses for the effectiveness of governance and development. According to the Interparliamentary Union, Principles of Democratic Parliament and the United Nations Development Programme report on parliamentary development, parliaments that lack technical expertise, research support, and oversight capacity are often unable to effectively scrutinize executive actions or influence national development policies. Reforms are necessary to combat challenges like weak committee systems, inadequate legislative research capacity, executive dominance, insufficient budgetary independence, low technological integration, weak citizen engagement, political polarization, and ineffective follow-up on oversight findings. Key reform priorities. 1. Strengthening parliamentary committees. Madam Chair, parliamentary committees constitute the operational backbone of effective legislative oversight and policy scrutiny. International best practices demonstrate that strong committee systems are essential for detailed examination of legislation, public expenditure, executive action, and national policy implementation. In Africa, parliamentary committees should be significantly strengthened through enhanced technical staffing, independent research support, specialized policy advisory services, and continuous professional training for members of parliament and committee personnel. Committees should also adopt more systematic mechanisms for monitoring implementation of recommendations and ensuring executive compliance with parliamentary resolutions. Specialized sectorial committees, particularly those dealing with finance, public accounts, mining, energy, agriculture, health, education, and public service delivery, should be supported with technical expertise capable of conducting evidence-based analysis of complex policy and financial issues. Improving budget oversight and fiscal accountability. That's the next key reform. Colleagues, effective parliamentary control over public finance is central to democratic governance and sustainable development. Parliaments must move beyond ceremonial approval of budgets and engage in rigorous scrutiny of fiscal policy, expenditure priorities, debt management, procurement systems, and development outcomes. According to the Open Budget Survey, countries with stronger legislative budget oversight generally demonstrate higher levels of fiscal transparency and improved public expenditure accountability. African parliaments should therefore strengthen their pre-budget engagement processes, improve analytical review of national budget estimates, and establish stronger systems for monitoring budgets in the implementation and sectorial expenditure performance. The establishment of an independent parliamentary budget office, PBO, as practiced in Sierra Leone and several Commonwealth jurisdictions, could significantly enhance Parliament's fiscal analysis capacity and support evidence-based budget oversight. The third reform, enhancing the utilization of Auditor General's report. Honorable Chair, the Office of the Auditor General remains one of the most important accountability institutions. However, the effectiveness of audit processes depends significantly on Parliament's willingness and ability to act on audit findings promptly and consistently. The Public Accounts Committee and related oversight committees should institutionalize stronger mechanism for reviewing audit reports, summoning accountable officials, enforcing compliance with recommendations and monitoring implementations of corrective actions. Parliamentary follow-up mechanisms should also include periodic compliance reviews and public reporting on implementation status. Greater collaboration between Parliament, the Audit Office, anti-corruption institution, civil society organization, and the media would further strengthen public accountability systems. The next reform, procedural and institutional modernization. Modernizing legislation and rule of the standing orders and internal governance procedures would improve efficiency, transparency, oversight, coordination, and institutional responsiveness. Procedural reforms should include digital committee management systems, electronic legislative tracking, time-bound oversight follow-up mechanisms, strengthen ethics and disciplinary procedures, improve public petition system, enhance gender and youth inclusion mechanisms. Institutionalized modernization should also prioritize staff professionalization, leadership development, and strategic planning frameworks aligned with national development priorities. The next reform is on digital and open parliament system. The digital transformation is increasingly recognized globally as essential to strengthening parliamentary transparency, accessibility, and citizen participation. Modern parliaments are utilizing digital technologies to improve legislative efficiency, public engagement, information management, and oversight effectiveness. Parliaments should adopt comprehensive e-parliament systems that include online publication of bills, Hansards, committee reports, and voting records, live streaming of parliamentary procedures, electronic documents, management systems, public digital consultation platforms, data-driven legislative monitoring tools. The implementation of open parliament principles would improve transparency, strengthen citizen trust, and promote participatory governance. The next one is ethical leadership and public trust. Honorable Chair, colleagues, honorable members, public trust constitutes the foundation of democratic legitimacy. Parliamentary leadership must therefore be guided by integrity, professionalism, accountability, and ethical conduct. Strengthening ethics framework within Parliament should include robust code of conduct, assets declaration compliance, conflicts of interest regulations, transparent disciplinary procedures, and anti-corruption compliance mechanisms. Ethical parliamentary leadership does not only enhance institutional credibility, but also strengthens citizens' confidence in democratic governance. The next point, strengthening oversight of natural resource governance. In Africa, effective parliamentary oversight of the extractive sector is critically important, given the country's substantial mineral wealth and the historical governance challenges associated with resource management. Parliaments should strengthen scrutiny of mining agreements, revenue collection systems, environmental compliance, community development obligations, beneficial ownership disclosures, and resource revenue utilization. Best practices from the extractive industries, transparency initiatives, EITI, and African Mining Vision Framework should guide parliamentary oversight reforms in this area. In conclusion, Honorable Chair, Parliamentary reforms remain indispensable to Africa's democratic consolidation, governance transformation, and socio-economic development. The future effectiveness of parliaments in Africa will depend largely on its ability to transform itself into a proactive, evidence-based, technologically responsive, transparent, and citizen-oriented institution capable of exercising meaningful oversight and contributing strategically to national development. Strengthening committee systems, improving budget scrutiny, utilization of audit reports effectively, modernizing parliamentary procedures, embracing digital governance, promoting ethical leadership, and enhancing natural resource oversight are not optional reforms. They are essential for accountable governance and sustainable development. Ultimately, a proactive Parliament is one that does not merely react to governance failures after they occur, but anticipates national challenges, shapes policy directions, protects public resources, and strengthens democratic accountability through effective leadership and institutional resilience. That is the model of parliamentary leadership Africa must continue to build in pursuit of sustainable development, constitutional governance, and democratic transformation. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mary Muyali Memboka, for your well-articulated presentation. I now have the honor to invite Right Honorable Tohangi Sekamahe, Speaker of the National Assembly of Lesotho, to second the motion.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I wish to start on a rather painful note. I guess when there is the problem of sickness, then you will be given medication, and sometimes it's an injection into the flesh of your body, and it is not nice. So for you to be cured, you need medication. Medication may not be nice. I don't know what time it is now, but I want to start by talking about time. I don't know what time we started yesterday, because maybe I was not accountable enough. But today I decided to be accountable. So I know, while we had intended to start at 9 o'clock, we started at 10:15. After lunch, we had decided to start at 3 o'clock. We started at 3:10. Right. That is accountability. I am trying to be accountable to my people back in the Kingdom of Lesotho. How did you spend our time and money in Gauteng, Johannesburg? I squandered 14 hours of your time. I think that is where we really ought to start, with the whole idea of accountability. It is so easy for us to call upon others to account and never to ask ourselves to account. Madam Moderator, I request you to allow me to stand on the protocol that has been enunciated by speakers that came before me, and to allow me to express our hearty gratitude to the authorities in the Gauteng province and through them, the governance structures of the Republic of South Africa for exemplary hosting and for putting impeccable resources at our disposal to be able to deal well and effectively with the task that has been put in front of us. It is an honor for me to take the floor to second the motion, reforming and developing innovative mechanisms and strategies for effective and proactive parliamentary leadership in Africa's development. The motion ably moved on behalf of Cameroon by Honorable Mary Muyali Boya Meboka. Madam Moderator, this motion could have not come at a better time in the history of parliaments in our continent. The challenges of the 21st century demand that parliaments shift from reactive lawmakers to proactive, evidence-led leaders that play an active role in shaping development priorities and holding governments to account. Increasingly across the African continent, parliaments are no longer mere melting pots of different political leanings. Rather, they have transformed into active and responsive institutions of democratic governance and social justice. The demands of our people are changing rapidly. Our institutions must evolve in tandem with those demands and change rapidly too. Parliaments are the heartbeat of democratic construct. They embody the aspirations and hopes of the people. For Parliament to discharge its mandate effectively, it must constantly review and reform its structures, procedures, and systems to avoid institutional stagnation and a decline in public confidence. The question before us is no longer whether reforms are necessary. It is rather how strategic and transformative those reforms are. In confronting the omissions and commissions of our time, parliaments must become dynamic engines of accountability, policy innovation, and developmental leadership. In the Kingdom of Lesotho, since 2022, when we came in as new presiding officers, we recognized quite early on, after all, we had already been members of parliament before, and we knew the ups and downs and the doings of parliament. So we moved in to do a strategic plan, central of which is the transformation of parliament into an autonomous and independent parliament. I think that this is a primary imperative for any parliament. I need to outline briefly some useful strategic reforms and mechanisms that are needed for our African parliaments today. And I would like to start on this note of strong institutions. That is, parliamentary effectiveness requires adequate funding, professional staff, technological shrewdness, and survey procedures. Research shows that parliaments that are dependent on their executives for this and for that and for whatever else, such parliaments are not able to fully exercise their role of oversight over such executives. And that generally such parliaments don't operate optimally. There is that need across the continent to strengthen the institutional autonomy of parliaments. I need to emphasize this, or maybe overemphasize this. I have myself been a member of parliament. I have been head of the public service. I have also been a minister. And now I am speaker. I know what I'm talking about. Unless parliament can be systemically, operationally, and financially independent of the executive, that parliament will never operate optimally. This is something that can bring us into conflict with our executives, with our presidents, and our prime ministers. Because it is good, nice, and comfortable to have power. But if anybody has power over parliament, that person has power over the lives of such a people. That is why it is crucially important for democracy to continue to call for elections so that people elect the people that they want in governance. They are not governed by default. They are governed by people that they elected to govern them. Now, when they have elected such people and put them in parliament, those people must actually be in charge of the role of representation, the role of legislature, the role of appropriation of monies, and the role of oversight over the money that has been appropriated. Such a people cannot depend on anybody else. They have to be autonomous. They have to be in charge of the affairs of parliament. But if for the purchase of vehicles or for the purchase of digital technological materials and so on, you depend on the executive, then there will come a time when you have done oversight effectively, they will deny you the finances to buy those things that make you efficient to oversee them. Additionally, oversight institutions such as the Human Rights Commissions, the Ombudsman, Auditors General, and anti-corruption commissions should all report to Parliament because their autonomy and independence must be protected. And the only body that can protect such institutions is Parliament. After all, who does the Auditor General audit? Who does the anti-corruption machine operate against? If that person is also in charge of that very Auditor General, if the Auditor General reports to that person, if the anti-corruption is appointed by that person, What are you hoping for? What miracle do you expect? Second is parliamentary committees. Parliamentary committees remain key engine rooms of Parliament. Reforms should aim to strengthen portfolio committees, ensuring that they are adequately resourced, that they are sponsored by competent researchers and professional staff, and that they are empowered to produce meaningful recommendations. It always borders on the issue of independence and autonomy. In Lesotho, bills are tabled and left with committees for a minimum of 30 days, so that the committees have time to summon expertise and professionals. They have time to bounce these pieces of legislature upon the people, the populace, the citizens, civil society organizations, and so on, to be able to ventilate the legislature properly and to say it is in the best interest of our people. The third is a modern legislature that must play a part at all stages of the budget process. You see, traditionally, parliaments were confined largely to rubber stamping the budget. That is, the executive can have a way by which it drives the budget right up to the end and then hand the budget to Parliament for scrutiny at the tail end of that process, leaving Parliament with very, very few days on which to scrutinize and study the budget. When that happens, Parliament is only rubber stamping on a matter that is the most important for why Parliament was elected, to look at the appropriation of money. Where is the money going to be allocated? What is the money going to be used for? Parliament is given 2 weeks in which to attend to that. That virtually is rubber stamping. You cannot oversee such a budget because in the first place, you were not part of the making of that budget. Fourth is parliamentary leadership in Africa must be grounded in ethical conduct, integrity, and accountability. This point has been hammered many, many times both in the last session and in this session, that the image and credibility of Parliament depend on the conduct of its members. Our people expect their MPs to uphold the highest standards of discipline and patriotism. I cannot help, Madam Moderator, but to go back to the point I made earlier, and that is the point of how we use time, the matter of punctuality. Is that the highest standard of discipline? Is that what we are demonstrating by arriving 30 minutes late and starting 45 minutes late and so on? Is that the highest standard, impeccable standards that we want to exemplify in your parliaments? What time does Parliament start? What time do you walk in as the Speaker? You walk in what? Within 5 minutes? Within 15 minutes? No, you walk in on the minute. Why couldn't you walk in on the minute right here at CSPOC? Fifth, we must acknowledge the growing importance of public participation and civic engagement in parliamentary democracy. Modern parliaments must communicate effectively with citizens through the media, digital platforms, public hearings, and civic education initiatives. We must institutionalize structures, inputs from citizens, CSOs, academia, the private sector, and traditional authorities through civic juries and online consultations. Parliament belongs to the people, and the people must feel connected to parliamentary processes and outcomes. When those processes don't go right, people must be able to point a finger also at themselves. When the outcomes are not palatable, people must own those outcomes. They shouldn't point a finger at somebody else. At the beginning of this year, we took Parliament to the people in Lesotho. We took them to a big cave in the north, an old cave where the King Moshoeshoe, founder of our people, used to hold his parliament. We spent the whole day listening to lectures about the wisdom of Moshoeshoe, his governance, and his prowess. The point, my point as Speaker, was to go and tell Basotho that we did not copy Parliament from the British. No, we copied Parliament from the King Moshoeshoe, founder of the Basotho people. 6, digital transformation, that is e-Parliament. We are living in an era of rapid technological advancements, an era defined by the 4th Industrial Revolution. Now, unlike previous industrial revolutions, which were driven by steam, electricity, and computing, the 4th Industrial Revolution is fueled by artificial intelligence, big data, the cloud, the Internet of Things, nanotechnology, and quantum computing. These innovations are reshaping the world as we know it, affecting everything from the home environment to education and to the workplace, and demanding that individuals continuously upskill only in order to retain relevance. 7th and last is the oversight innovations. Madam Moderator, this includes real-time budget monitoring dashboards, randomized audits, whistleblower protection, and independent ethics and/or anti-corruption committees with sanction powers. Our committees, members of our committees in Parliament, they work very hard. But their work comes to no result. It comes to naught because they don't have sanction powers. And our people know this, and they are disillusioned by that. Because they know all these resources will be spent. Discoveries, big discoveries will be made, and then nothing will come of it. Because the people that make these discoveries, whose obligation it is to make those discoveries, don't have the power to sanction. Tapering towards the end, Madam Moderator, please allow me to make a quick reference to the pivotal and all-important issue of collaboration among parliaments across the continent. The benefits of reforms for development will be markedly optimized if African parliaments work together to pass harmonized and/or model laws, and if they have shared research networks, peer reviews, and ways and means to regularly share best practices among themselves. The national silo mentality-based approach has not done us any good since independence up to now. We have emphasized nation-based wisdom, nation-based policy, and so on. It has not worked for us. Others are laughing at us. It is time that Africa were to come together and share best practices and act as one. The time for deliberate, organized and systematized collaboration for parliamentary leadership in Africa and its development is long overdue. Madam Moderator, I wish to strongly second the motion ably moved by my colleague from Cameroon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Sekame, for seconding the motion and for your valuable observation. Honorable colleagues, I now invite delegates to share experience, best practice, innovative strategies and mechanisms that can strengthen our institution and enhance proactive parliamentary leadership in support of Africa development. The floor is now open. The floor is now open. Yes. I now invite from Kenya.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. And let me take this opportunity to thank Honorable Mary Moiboka, Cameroon, for ably moving this motion, and to thank Honorable Sekame from the Kingdom of Lesotho, the Honorable Speakers, for the great work they have done in moving this motion. I want to agree with both speakers that we have parliaments within Africa, and the institution has already been set. But we continue to have a lot of challenges in being proactive in creating or making legislation that contemplates the needs of the people, and that's proactive as opposed to reactive. And I want to say, every time I listen to speakers from my continent, Africa, I am very deeply impressed by the wealth of experience, the wealth of knowledge, the level of understanding, very, very deep. The only challenge we seem to have as parliaments, as nations, is in executing the very good ideas that we have. And we must agree that one of the reasons why our populace may blame us is because they see as though we don't have that level of autonomy and independence of thought, independence of oversight over the tasks that we have been. So that if you want to show me a parliament that the people will reject, it's a parliament that fails to account. To me, accountability is so key, and thank you for challenging us on time factor. I had also asked myself a question on the time, seeing that we have so many honorable speakers here. We must accept as Africans to be more accountable to our people and accept to be asked questions. And you have shared that you took people back to a certain cave of King Mshweshwe. I wish we were all there to hear the wisdom from the cave of how the kings did it without all the frameworks that we have today, advantage of the frameworks we have today. For me, I think two things we must really accept to do is, are we able to do the right thing, the way we know it from within our hearts, before we are interfered with by the authorities or the executive structures that we are supposed to be oversighting? Are we strong and confident enough to oversight without fear? Being able to say, if monies have been used improperly within our governments, Are we able to one day just stand up and say, this is wrong and this is the right way? It doesn't matter the cost of that accountability and oversight. So let me wind up by saying two things I think we should purpose to do is stand for the right thing. Every country has a constitution and we know the rules. Many of us in this room are lawyers. Can we stand up one day and oversight properly? The committees, the effect of committees like the Public Accounts Committee, we have audit reports. The audit reports are even processed to a point that you can see where the gaps are. Why don't we encourage our members that we have a tenure where we can stand up to do the right thing, reduce the wastage of resources from how governments are running their operations, and accept to seal the corruption and loopholes that are losing resources for Africa. Africa is the richest continent. Why are we not the richest in the world? I think if we oversight properly, people will have more confidence in that, in us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for your contribution. Yes, please. From South Africa, Chairperson and COP.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson of the session, for the opportunity. And also thanks for quite an insightful contributions that has been made by the two latter presenters. Chairperson, I think it's a very interesting topic that we are embarking on. For us, integrating the technology and focusing on capacity building, indeed, we believe that it can enhance the effectiveness of parliamentary process. Now, the introduction of the e-parliamentary process can ensure efficiency and transparency in parliamentary process. That will also enable easy access of information to our citizens. What is important is that if we were to embark on e-system, we will be guaranteed as parliaments the real-time information on legislative activities, making the process much more transparent for everyone. Now, the value-based information collated through public inputs in the e-systems will enable us to take decisions that are well informed and also enact legislations that are informed by citizens' views as opposed to assumptions and the imposing of policy and laws. Now, the question is, where do we start? Now, in responding to this question, one would say that perhaps we need to reform our rules so that they allow for more responsive, flexible legislative procedures that will adapt to the changing circumstances. Now, as South Africa, what we have done already, we have started with the e-petitioning, which we have rolled out. But obviously, it has its limitations and challenges in that in affluent areas, it allows easy access to the communities, whilst we still have the rural areas, which there's not much of the broadband rollout. Now, it then disadvantages those communities who are residing in the far-flung rural areas of our borders. And therefore, it is one instrument that we need to intensify and strengthen that will allow citizen participatory in the processes of parliament. But I think as this CSPOC, we need to be deliberate and to say that as we go back to our respective branches, let's try and keep resources that will enable us to move with times so that we allow easy access to information and participation, and that will also assist us in terms of record keeping. Now, if you were to look at the litigations that we are having, they're quite exorbitant. But when you look back at our record keeping, one amongst the other issues, we are found wanting in that aspect. So having the e-system rollout program throughout our legislative process, it's going to eliminate much more challenges and be much more inclusive for citizenry participation in the processes of parliaments. Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson of NCOP. Members, is there anyone who wants to make a contribution? Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor. I would like first to congratulate the presenter, especially for a well-researched paper concerning the role and what they are expecting from Parliament. But I'm afraid we are oblivious to certain facts concerning the political systems in Africa, where we have the presidentialist system, where the powers are all concentrated in the hands of the executive. And most parliaments are just rubber stamp. The agendas of parliaments are all even determined by the executive. And we even have absolute monarchies and constitutional monarchies. So it actually becomes very difficult in such parliaments for them to articulate or function in the manner in which we are expecting. In those parliaments, what can we do effectively? Because we cannot ignore. In the previous discussion concerning the construction of the hotel, I don't know which country, was it Kenya or what, expressed the fact that they could not, because the executive must decide for them to be able to be involved in such an adventure or such a business. So this goes further to show the limitations of Parliament, and we will be necessary to see how we harmonize the political systems that are in Africa, most especially where you have the presidential system, where powers are all concentrated in the hands of an individual, the president, who is the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. This is the point I wanted to make. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for your contribution.
Honorable Chair,
yes,
maybe I feel the need to clarify that what Kenya stated about that issue of the hotel building and contribution was that due to the Public Finance Management Act, our system is governed in a specific way when it comes to public resources. So the executive doesn't make the decision on whether Parliament should give that kind of money or not. It's just that the laws that are set for the country would not allow us to invest directly like that. So it's the PMF, it's the law itself that wouldn't allow. But there are other ways, like what you talked about, the subscriptions, maybe something like that. But the law as it is right now would need to be amended, including amending the Constitution. In our Constitution from 2010, so far, nobody has managed to successfully pull through amendments to that Constitution because it's very contentious and it takes a very heavy public engagement. public engagement and stakeholders' contributions.
Thank you, Honorable. I now call upon the mover to conclude your motion.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Being a motion on reform and development, I know that a lot of us are looking at the reforms in our minds and thinking about what can our parliament do differently from the regular mandates that we have. It is not easy, definitely. We have a lot of challenges. We have the government, we have other branches of the government that interfere. But we are parliamentarians, and we are accountable to the population. The government is in power because the population voted for them. And we, members of parliament, support the government to be in power because we get to the population and the population votes for us, votes for them based on our interaction with the population. So, on that note, I would say in Kenya, yes, she said something very important. We have to have the courage to take up our responsibilities and do them. Nobody will come and tell us, and it cannot be better said than she said it. We have to just take up the courage and take our responsibilities. If a road is not built, the road is not built. We have to say that it's not built. If the money is not used, the money is not used. We have to say that it's not used. And that's our role. Unfortunately, it's our role, and we have to have the courage to do things differently. From the Honorable Chair, yes, that what she mentioned, very important technological changes. I am also from a rural constituency where we also have challenges to engage with the rural population. Well, maybe for now, we only get them involved through meetings and public meetings, but I think it's a very important element for us to think about how do we really get the rural population engaged in what system can we use to get them properly engaged. And that comes back to us to make sure that the infrastructural development, the social development gets to all parts of the country. If there is electricity, there is email facilities, there is network, we will be able to engage with rural population. And so we are not engaged with them because something has not been done right within the rural population. Then for the last speaker, yes, well, the government is overbearing, yes, but we have our role to play. We have the resolutions that we take. For who does the government even work? The government works for the people of Cameroon. And there we have synergy. We have to make sure that we monitor. Maybe we have a monitoring plan in Parliament. We have a system, a monitoring system of resolutions. We have a monitoring system of agreements, of things that the population needs, because the things that the population needs enter the agenda of the plans of the government. Even in areas like my country, which is a presidential system, yes, they cannot do budgeting without taking into consideration what are the needs or an aspiration of the population. Otherwise, the government will not have, the population will not have trust in the government. So we definitely need a lot of synergy in that. It is not it's not competitive. We are not competitive. We are working for the same population to make sure that both of us, our work, builds the livelihood of the population, advances the country, and make sure that the people have trust in us. So we have to work in synergy and make sure that we stamp out our rules and make sure that we present them properly and follow them up to make sure that the agreements that we have agreed, the resolution we've taken, are properly followed up, and the government needs to implement them if the government works for the people. That's the best I can say. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us accord the mover a warm round of applause, please. Thank you. I now call upon the seconder.
I thank you again, Madam Moderator. I think that my sister Meremi Boke has done a lot of justice already to some of the queries that we had from the floor. I should single out only 3 of those. Coming out of Kenya, the idea of trying to operate on a clean conscience. I think this is what she was chasing. Let us seek to do the right thing. I totally approve and applaud that, because we are guided by systems, rules, regulations, and so on. And what dominates all that is our conscience as human beings. Coming out of South Africa, the idea of e-parliament and the current already practice of e-petitioning, which I have admired from a distance. That thing really helps people to say what they feel. And unless we know how people feel, we are most likely to misgovern them. So that system is very good. And the last one from the Gambia, on too much power concentrated in the executive. Well, when you mention the 3 legs of government, you say there is parliament, the executive, and the judiciary. I've never had any other order. I've never heard people talk about the executive, parliament, and judiciary. Every time it is first parliament, then the executive, then the judiciary. So I believe very strongly, honorable colleagues, I believe very strongly that we have inherited systems. We found them the way they are. We found a situation in which executives are very powerful for one reason or another. It's incumbent upon us to begin to change the manner in which government works. The people don't elect an executive. The people elect members of parliament. And those are the people that are given power. So it's up to members of parliament to take it upon themselves proactively to amass the power that they need to represent the people properly and effectively. Lastly, Madam Moderator, I was doing a keynote speech when CSPOC is the SADC Public Accounts Committee. When they held their conference in my country, they asked me to do a keynote address, and that was the worst mistake they made. Because I had learned that CSPOC, this is Public Accounts Committees, right? Public Accounts Committees, people who are supposed to stop corruption, to stop the abuse and misuse of financial resources. They told me that they started working in 2002, and they asked me to speak in 2006, and they still exist. And I said, shame on you. You still exist. From 2002, you have been fighting corruption up to 2026, you still exist. Your work is to work yourself out of a job. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much. Let us also accord the seconder a warm round of applause. Honorable colleagues, allow me to briefly summarize some of the key issues emerging from our deliberation. Institution reforms aimed at enhancing parliamentary effectiveness, also strengthening oversight and accountability mechanism, harnessing digital technologies to improve parliamentary operations, promoting transparency and citizen engagement, and also build resilience to future-oriented legislation. Honorable colleagues, as we conclude this important session, allow me to express my sincere appreciation for the rich insights, innovative proposal, and diverse perspectives shared during our deliberation. We have reaffirmed that proactive parliamentary leadership is not a luxury. Rather, it is an imperative for Africa's sustainable development and political stability. We have had strategies ranging from institutional reforms to digital innovation, from strengthening oversight mechanism to deepening citizen engagement. These are not abstract ideas. They are practical pathways capable of transforming our parliaments into engines of resilience and progress. Let us carry forward the spirit of collaboration and mutual learning that has characterized our discussion today. The challenges confronting our continent are shared, and so too must be our solution. Together, proactive parliaments can anchor political stability, promote inclusive growth, and safeguard democratic governance for future generations. I thank you all for your valuable contribution and active participation. It's now give me great pleasure to formally declare this plenary session closed. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Another round of applause as they leave the stage. We are grateful indeed for having steered the second plenary session to its logical conclusion. Thank you so much. Distinguished delegates, that marks the end of our sessions really for today. We still have two other sessions to come tomorrow, and as per the program, tomorrow the program we will start at 10. Whether that can be amended is subject to your, but it is at 10, and in keeping with the advice or the sentiments expressed by Honorable Sekamane, it is imperative that we endeavor or we try to be here on time, so that come 16 hours, we bring the conference to a close. And the fact that tomorrow, before the closing ceremony, we will have some resolutions arising out of the discussions starting today and tomorrow. So I plead with you to be here at exactly 10, so that we can make the maximum use of time and complete the two sessions, and thereon move on to the resolutions. Normally, before the resolutions, we would allow maybe for a break of 15 minutes, so that the team that will be working on the resolutions can finalize, fine-tune them before they are presented to the plenary for adoption. And another issue, tomorrow we will propose to you the members that will be members of the Resolutions Committee. We will propose 3 names. They will work side by side with the Secretariat, which has fortunately started working on the resolutions. And they will select among themselves the chair, who will then present those resolutions at an appropriate time tomorrow. So thank you so much. I wish you all a good evening. Have a restful evening, and let's meet tomorrow at 10 on the dot. Thank you so much.